Everything we know, from people and ants to stars and galaxies to quarks and atoms, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer inside an even bigger universe. Ancient philosophers said that the universe is a dream that we're waiting to wake up from. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. All cultural items, from the dreams of our rodent-like ancestors, to books, to television shows, are merely permutations of the reality we think we live in. Today's age of computers and video games places simulations at the center of our cultural consciousness. A select group of us perform simulations for fun and profit, and we call them games, role-playing and otherwise. We live to run simulations. Join us on the Simulationist Podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Simulationist Podcast. This is the 123rd iteration of the show, and we're recording on the 11th of January, 2015.
123 Simulationist Street.
123.
It's like Sesame Street, but it's like, was it ever really truly real?
That other voice you hear on the other microphone, as always, is Ryan Kirkby, in case you don't already know.
Philosopher and apparently decently knowledgeable in the whole Sesame concepts.
Yeah, and my name is Josh Trelevin, and we're bringing you the best. We're bringing you a perspective in simulations and video games and all kinds of role-playing games.
Wait, wouldn't the regular Sesame Street effectively qualify as like a simulationist thing? Because it's not like the Muppets. Spoiler, the Muppets aren't real people. It's all like a level of falseness.
Well, I've always kind of said that pretty much everything falls under our umbrella of topics. So yes, I think.
Of course, then mind you get like a weird half and half thing. If you've seen much for the Swedish Chef lately, what they have is like he's got the standard stuff, but they've got like real person hands doing it, so they can get the dexterous handwork needed for dealing with the items he deals with.
Yeah, but I mean, in theater in TV you have real people's hands, and nobody believes that it's real life.
Okay, nobody who doesn't need medication believes it's real life.
Yeah, I guess you can't rule out. And you have very small children.
Yeah. There are some children that have an interesting crossover between reality and fiction. I think they're leading the best lives because for them, it's all the same thing. Someone reads a book about fish, and all of a sudden fish always exist as the blue fish, and the fish with stars, and fish wearing hats, and other fun things like that.
So you're into red fish, blue fish, then?
My daughter is deeply into it these days. She got it for Christmas, and she is shouting it out in her dreams. She's like, sit down, fish, as she's sleeping. In her dreams, she wants me to sit down next to her and read more red fish, blue fish.
Wow.
Which I think is just awesome personally. It's like, oh.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I've been dreaming of Don't Starve, the video game. Whatever game I really get into, it gets into my dream.
That's caused me a couple bad nights sleep this week, too.
Yeah.
But yes, we have some official proper news. Countdown for
We're
GottaCon.
Counting down to GottaCon in
2015.
February 27th to March. No, 27th? Yeah, to March 1st.
It's a 3-day event. And it's not a leap year this year?
No. Let's see. No. Yeah.
So, it goes over to March 1st.
Yeah, and so there's lots of cool stuff at GottaCon. If you haven't already got your ticket, I believe there still are tickets, but they may be going fast.
Yeah, get them while you can before they get all snapped up, eh?
Yeah, and...
wait until I get my ticket, and then everyone snap up all the other tickets.
Okay, so you haven't got yours yet.
Well, I got to talk things through with my brothers, who's coming down, who isn't.
Okay, yeah.
For my one brother, it's either a 12-hour drive or like a 4-hour flight, including the time you got to spend in the terminals getting everything cleared. Yeah. And yes, when it comes to flights, I do include the terminal time and the time you got to spend behind that, waiting through, getting everything scanned and checked out. I firmly believe that should be always a part of like the flight times and how much it's going to take you. You don't want to underestimate. It's like, oh yeah, it's only a 3-hour flight. I'll get there, 3.5 hours before I'm going to land. No, you're too late. You missed it out, and it's not going to go through properly. Get there in advance, people.
Well, it's not so bad if it's domestic.
It's still
province. So.
Still pretty decent. Takes the time. They got to do everything, load stuff up, and don't keep people waiting. Come on, don't be the last person on the plane rushing in at the last moment. You don't want to be that guy.
I don't think we've heard Adam's voice on the podcast. Maybe his snoring.
Yes, his snores. Otherwise, he tries to maintain a low cyber profile.
Yeah.
But I've ruined it for him by talking about him for a couple minutes now, so haha. All his hard work was for naught.
So GottaCon, be
yes.
there.
Be there and be square.
Oh, and I should remind people, I'm running a D&D event, I'm planning on it. I'm actually not sure if it's gone through or if my,
status still pending.
But look for me at GottaCon, hopefully running a D&D game.
If you can't find him or it doesn't work with your hours, still try and find a game table to go at. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm recommending the game set. That's where I'm going to be this year. Even if I don't end up getting to DM, I hope I do because I have some good ideas that I want to try out. But if I don't end up getting to do that, then I'll play in somebody else's game, which will be just as fun.
I will definitely try and make at least to one table, but if you want to try and find me, you definitely see me looking around at the auction bids.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I love those auctions. You can find some real good gems, and sometimes there's some things you don't want to bid on. It's like, they've got 2 copies of the Hero Quest board game. Those of you who haven't played it, it's released in 1990. Great game. Effectively set in the Warhammer universe, kinda, sorta, maybe. But, I have a copy, and I was looking at the 2 copies they were selling there, and it's like, my copy's in better condition than this, ha ha ha. But, you know what? It was nice to still see the bids just rack up as quick as possible. A lot of people wanted a copy of this game, and so it wound up going for $60 for, I'd put it maybe fair condition, and that's being a little generous for its outer design. And I'm looking at it, I was like, yeah, thank you. That validates what I've had and the good quality I've kept my stuff in. Plus, I have all the expansion packs except the 2 released only in Europe. So, dang you, MB.
Are you familiar with the comics sort of rating system for the comics books quality?
I have gone over them before, but that was a little ways back. Fair to poor is what I'd rate some of these board games as. But if you want to get a copy and there's no other way, the only other way is spending $150 on eBay if someone gouges you for it, man.
Yeah, well, as far as I've never bought a book caring about the condition it is. I buy books because I want to read them.
This isn't a book. This is the board game sort of thing with a box and all that. Yeah.
Or I buy a game because I want to play it. I want the content. I don't care about the quality.
Although there was that one old copy of the Fiend Folio they had a couple years back that was a little ratty, couple ripped up pages, and everything had been colored by the person's kid. That was good, but I wasn't going to bid more than $15 on that, so once that went over the limit, I was out.
I feel like I have one just like that.
Hey, maybe you won the winning bid.
I don't see it. Maybe I didn't end up with it.
Don't get me wrong, if I had won the winning bid, at my price, I would not have said, I really didn't want it because it's being colored and all that. Because, this has got some good classic info in here. This has got some nice old school stats, some history.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the person who bid more really did want it more, and they were much more okay with it in that condition. So, no losses there. But yeah, look for me, at the auction area. Look for Josh at the gaming table. Look for us both at the gaming tables.
Yeah.
And keep an eye out for everything everywhere. They got all sorts of fun stuff. Games you never heard of, but you really want to get into as soon as you see them.
Yeah.
Hey, are they doing a Minecraft server again this year? Just for the event, or is it...
I don't know if they have a Minecraft event. I haven't seen anything advertised. I've seen League of Legends advertised and a couple other games.
Because I remember that a couple of years back when they were back at the old location, the Perks Recreational, they had hey, we've got a Minecraft server. So, while you got your computer and it's in between, events, sit on down and just, dig some dirt.
Well, maybe we'll have to get back to people next week on that, because there might be...
I don't know how good of a response it was. I only saw 1 or 2 people mucking about. There wasn't a big organized community. Let's build a giant tower doing this,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not aware of a big Minecraft... Minecraft is huge, though.
It's lasted
it has
very
its own
long,
conventions.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a significant segment of the GottaCon people who would buy into or go to some sort of Minecraft event, whether it's just a server or a build competition or whatever. But I'm not aware of anything yet. I'll have to look it up. You can GottaCon.com. You can look for yourself. There might
look at all the stuff they've got. Look at the people going there. Check out the people sponsoring it. These are good people making sure that we can have this fun every year.
Yeah.
I was going to get my boss to be able to do some work, do some helpful donation stuff, but they moved away from the Perks, which is, close to where he was. So it's like, it's too far away. We're not going to get their business.
Yeah.
There's more competitors in the way, so.
Yeah, that's true. It's downtown now. Yeah.
But it's a much bigger location. It's much more roomy, and so
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like I'll take anything. Like we did.
They could do it in a big old warehouse, and I'd still be happy. But it's nice that they got it in a classy location where they do.
I remember a couple of years ago when I lived in Prince George, we did a little game. We called it MiniCon, I think. We did a game convention in the basement of just a hotel. It was very small meeting space, but it was pretty cool. I still had a lot of fun there.
And that's what really matters, that everyone who attend have fun.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's
the
all
news
we have currently.
I suppose we have some technical, like a response news.
Well, I wanted to do. I don't know if this counts as a segment because I don't know how often we'll do this, but we have gotten some messages like feedback from listeners, so I wanted to sort of respond to it. I don't know if we call this mailbag or like missives from the simulation. Ooh, missives. Just
missives.
Missives.
The missive bag. Well, cross them.
This is messages. Okay, so we have a message. I don't know if I should read these, but we're both going to sort of comment, I guess.
All right, you read the first one. I'll read the second one there.
Okay. This is a comment on iteration 33, so this is back a ways.
Way back in the day.
This podcast
let's see, we're at 123, and it was at 33, so that's just 90 weeks ago, so just under 2 years back.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of weird thing about it.
But people are still listening to it. So JerkyBoy00, thank you for your comment. You wrote.
I presume this jerky is in the meat, not just like an attitude.
I think it's like the Jerky Boys, as in the
people that did the crank phone call stuff.
Phone call guys, but I don't know. I didn't look up this guy's profile. He says, I've used this podcast to go to sleep several times, and it works every time.
That's a bit of a joke on the title of the iteration. It was, this podcast will put you to sleep, because we were talking about dreams.
Yeah, we did dreams. And he says, finishes his comment, side effect is strange dreams. So thank you, JerkyBoy00, for your comment.
I will take that as a proper compliment, that means we were able to get into his brain. Even sleeping, that means we got in there. We put in the seed of some ideas in there. He got the weird dreams because of what he was listening to, and I'll take that as a victory condition for any of our iterations. If we made someone think something new, bam, victory.
Victory indeed. So yeah, if you want to comment, just go to youtube.com/thesimulationist, and there's a built-in comment section that YouTube has all ready for you to type in something, assuming you have your account signed up.
Yes, we got a new comment for iteration 122.
So that's the last
one. William Wah! Says, subscribe to me. And you know what? I'm willing to meet him halfway. He subscribes to us, we'll subscribe to him. Extra points. I like his surname because of the stuff I've seen and paid attention to, especially because GottaCon, we'll go back to that one. Yeah. They do some nice tabletop gaming, and you can actually tell which tables are having the old, Warhammer Fantasy stuff there, because the people that are doing the orcs battles, you'll hear them go, you do the lines. There's a bit of a subculture in with that. You play in an orc army, you got to get in the orc mode of sort of thing, and they're attacking sort of thing, and they're using their magic. Their magic is called Wah magic. So, you can hear, every once in a while you hear someone go, whoa! Or a line like, here we go, here we go, here we go. And you'll be able to tell which ones are playing, which ones are really getting into their gaming that way. So, yes, thank you, William. Whoa!
Thank you, William.
I like your extra points for the surname. Whether intentional or not, I can groove to it. I can dig it.
Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I did check out, I clicked on his name, and because what else am I going to do? I got
just stare at the picture profile.
I did click on. He's got some videos up there. He's a young guy. Yeah. Now I don't want to offend him, but I think he's Scottish. I can't tell all those northern England accents.
They can be very particular depending on the area. As the old joke goes, for anyone in the Scottish, anywhere in the greater Isles there. You can find a person down to the upper or lower level of which house they grew up in, depending on their accent.
Yeah, he doesn't quite sound like any Scottish person I've ever heard, so I was like, is he sure?
Well, that's the thing is, you listen to some people over from the East Coast or thing, and then you'll catch the Newfie accent, as the saying is, for it, every once in a while. Not to be derogatory for that, but that's just, how it's termed as the Newfoundland accent or Newfie accent. Right. And then, but they won't always have it for every word. Sometimes it'll sound like, where's that person from? And then, there's a bit of the accent slipping in there. So it could just be that, yes, he is from the Scotland type area.
Or we could just ask him.
Sure, yeah.
That was my guess. And he does, like, videos, I think it's like conspiracy theory type. It's like vlogs, and his topics are kind of conspiracy theory type stuff, and so
that's how we got him, man, with the conspiracy theories I come up with every once in a while.
I have no idea how the whole internet is a mystery how it works to me. Once again, that came in via YouTube, so
yes. Yeah, so thank you everyone for sending in your comments there. It was quite nice, especially with the fun surnames I like to pronounce very loud and aggressively.
Yeah, Mr. Boy00 is the other.
We'll call him Double Odd.
Boy 00. If you want to email us, thesimulationist@gmail.com is also a valid way of getting in contact with us.
Making a little comment over on the Facebook group always gets through too.
We're also on facebook.com/thesimulationist. Cool.
And remember, you post the comment, everyone gets a chance to see it, and then who knows, maybe you start like a big long conversation. It was all because you decided to put that first comment in. Yep. You were the catalyst.
And if you get in now, get in on the ground floor, we may read out your comment. So that's all.
I like to think, even if we're getting something like 100 comments a week sort of thing, we become super big and famous, I like to, spend a little time and search through and find some of the best comments of the week sort of thing.
Yeah.
So even if we get big and famous, don't worry. All you need to do is post something awesome. You can do awesome, right? You're listening to us. You're getting awesome off us, if nothing else. You can do it. I know you can. I trust you guys.
Indeed. So we should move on to...
Yes. What have you been doing this week, Josh? What's up with you?
What have I been doing? I drew a blank.
Oh, wow.
No. Improv classes started again today.
Very nice.
So I did that. That's like, the ultimate simulation.
In that case, I gotta say, I think you gotta get back on the ball, because you paused when I said what you've been doing this week. You didn't have something to improvise for a solution.
Oh, thanks.
That means you're a little rusty. You gotta go. You gotta keep going to those classes, Josh. You gotta come up with that answer just like that.
Yeah.
That's how you know you've become true master. Then you can start teaching the improvisation classes.
That's true. That's my goal. That's what I'll try and do.
There you go.
Video game-wise, I played Don't Starve. Now, I don't know if you've seen...
I've seen a little bit of it. I've heard some interesting things about it. Give the folks out there who haven't had the chance and the enlightenment, tell them what it's all about.
Don't Starve is... It's hard to describe it because it's a very visual game. It looks like it's hand-drawn. It's like, almost a Tim Burton-esque style, only cartoons. And it's, you run around a 2D map, like you run around the surface of a world, and you can move in the X and Y direction, so you're running top down, looking at the map, looking at your guy, and you pick up stuff. You pick up food. It's called Don't Starve because you have a little hunger, like a stomach in the corner of the screen, and the stomach drains gradually over time.
That's not how it works for starvation, but okay.
Yeah.
That's just avoiding, oh no, keep your stomach full. That sounds like Gluttony, the game. But
maybe,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then so basically you have to run around the world. You have a little character, and you run around the world, and you pick up carrots and berries and kill rabbits and monsters. There are a few monsters, and you eat whatever you can eat, and you can build little structures, but it's not nearly as buildy as Minecraft. You build very basic sort of stuff.
Well, it's two-dimensional, so you don't need to worry about height things or anything. You build a wall that's effectively it got a ceiling attached to it because no one's jumping over the wall, right?
As far as I know, but I wouldn't be surprised. This game is a hard game. I just keep on dying in it.
Well, that would be why the goal of the game is don't starve, not master the earth. But just don't starve. Here's your basic goal.
Yeah, it's true. Every time I get, it measures how many sort of in-game days you last, because there's a day-night cycle, and you're outdoors and in the wilderness. And every time I last a few more days, it's now there's now wolves come and get you. You survived the world, great. Okay, now it's going to snow, and you're going to freeze to death. And then so it keeps on adding these challenges, which you sort of have to...
It's very nice. It reminds me of the roguelike dungeon sort of thing. Where it's not about how long you can survive. It's about how much better you do every time you live another life.
Yeah.
In which case, yeah, you just have to accept death as inevitability. But you got to learn from your lessons. Do better every time.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that I'm getting a little better each time.
Well, you survived until you starved to death. No, and then you survived until the wolves ate you. No, now you survived until you freeze to death.
Yeah.
There you go.
So we'll see what happens. There might be like some super jumping creature that comes after.
Or, like radioactive, stuff coming down. It seems like a post-apocalyptic sort of thing. If that's, your goal is to not starve.
Yeah.
There's no society.
I don't know what to expect. Basically, I have to try and, there's a list of sort of things you can build. You build a science machine, which is...
Science!
It lets you build other things.
Does it blind people with science? Can you blind the wolves with science?
Maybe. I should look that up. There might actually be a thing for that.
If not, I'm actually a little disappointed. If you got a science machine and it doesn't allow you to blind your opponents, that is wasted potential. I'm just going to come out and say it. It's wasted potential.
There are a few darts, specialty darts. I think there's a sleeping dart and something like that. So there might actually be a blindness dart. There's also
it's a dart you shoot into somebody's eye. That's your blindness dart right there.
It's like a lot of modern games. There's people there's already a modding community doing mods for it. So you might actually be able to find someone who's made a blindness mod or something like that.
Yeah. Don't Starve was hard enough. Here's the blindness mod. It's the same game except you're blind.
Oh, yeah.
Boom.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You thought it was hardcore before. Just try it without any visuals, man. It's a text adventure now.
Yeah. So that's pretty much that's mine. Oh, and I was doing a lot of mapping in that, but I think we can talk about that in a minute. There are a lot of exploring, revealing the black parts of the map and turning them.
Getting rid of the fog of war.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Is there a fog of war? Is there like the darkened stuff for like black for where you haven't been, darkened color for where you can't see, and then light and proper colors for what's in your line of sight?
Well, no, you can see what's on your screen, and then there's a second screen that you have to tab out to. Literally, you press tab, and you get to an overview or map, and that map doesn't necessarily have everything on it, so it's not in 100% detail. But you can see a surprising amount. You actually can see you can see every individual little bush and little tuft of grass.
But can you see something like a rabbit on the other side of your tab map?
Not like animals. You can't see any of the creatures.
Ah, okay. So it's just I know this is here because that's where the bush is. Bushes tend not to move.
Yeah. There is a multiplayer version that's out, but I don't know how to, I don't think I have, they're only letting certain people.
Yeah, I've seen a few other games where survival's a key aspect, and that usually winds up with people enslaving others or killing everybody. I got a rock, keep away from my stuff, or I kill you.
What's that, Rust? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple games. This has become its own sort of subgenre.
Yeah.
Brutish, horrible survival.
I mean, it's the way that I've seen it played, the multiplayer version, it's supposed to be very cooperative. It's supposed to be play. Yeah.
Online game and cooperative seem to have this weird thing of just missing each other by that much. And then they win.
Let me put it this way: you don't play with strangers. It's not intended to be here's a public server that you just log on to, and there might be someone. It's more you and your friends have to set up your own server. So it's sort of
a little bit better off then. A little bit less chance of stuff your friend killing you in the game just because you had more berries than me.
Well,
I must be the berry king.
If your friend kills you in the game, you can
smack him in real life.
The air out of his tires in real life or something.
It's it's bleeding over to reality now. Don't starve as you get your tires refilled.
You can steal all his food so he starves.
There you go. You steal my berries in the game, I steal your Captain Crunch in real life.
My crunch berries.
Exactly. There you go. So yeah. Maybe you want to make sure you play with only a certain kind of person who's not likely to backstab you.
Yeah, probably not.
Because if there's one thing I learned from that game Zombies with 4 exclamation points. Is that there's 2 very different games. It's the same game, but whether you play cooperatively or competitively, it is completely different.
Oh, yeah.
I've played it competitively, and there's no way anybody wins. It's you just got to throw yourself continually against the wall of zombies coming in, just hoping to kill 2 zombies before you die. and just have everybody kind of like swarm the zombie swarm back and forth, because once you die, you start the next round at the base location. But if you play cooperatively, everybody's got hearts to spare. Everybody's got bullets to spare, and provided you amend the rule about who gets out, whereas if you can get everybody onto the helipad within one turn of each other, sort of thing, then it leaves with everybody. Then I think everyone can have a happy ending, and it's much easier to play cooperatively.
Interesting. That's interesting, because if you are just playing individually, how are you really that different from the zombies? Like, what makes you...
That's a very interesting concept. I mean, here's the thing. Zombies cannot play cards that will actively inhibit you. Like, there's a card you can play, put 10 more zombies at any square on the board. So it'll be like, I put 10 zombies all around you, Josh. You're surrounded by zombies. Zombies don't have the ability to mess over other zombies. They don't have a card the zombies can play, whereupon put down 10 players around any kind of zombie. Although, mind you, I think you could have an interesting, extra hardcore version just by releasing, a pack. So, once a turn sort of thing, once everyone takes their turn, flip over a card for what the zombies do. Zombies say, pop another 2 zombies. Move zombies an extra couple squares. So that way the zombies are bigger, tougher, and nastier.
But in this game, there's no dungeon master and there's no player in charge of the zombies, right?
No. Well, that's the thing is, at the end of your turn, you move some zombies. At the end of someone else's turn, they move some zombies. Oh, so you could say, the zombies move out of the way, or the zombies all come after you. And you can play cards that move more of them, like extra squares, and it can get very nasty. But yeah, play cooperatively. You can still have the zombies coming after everybody, but because you're all together, it's like, you've only got 2 hearts, I've got a full 5, I'll take the front. Any zombie coming after you has to get through me, and I got the bullets and the hearts to spare. Chances are I'm killing the zombies. I got an axe, I got a skateboard, I'm moving everywhere, I'm doing everything. Rah!
Cool. All right,
plus the additional spin-off stuff, all the expansion packs. You can have a lot of fun. They got glow-in-the-dark military zombies, the radioactive ones. Ooh.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Zombies. Shout out to them. Who makes zombies? Do you know?
I cannot remember the name of the group.
I'll put it in the show notes.
I left the copy I had with Adam up in Prince George.
Okay, I don't own a copy. Although I own Zombie Dice, which my uncle bought me, which is very cool.
I have the medieval game, which is the same sort of game, just with a medieval, style and flair. It's pretty groovy. It's nice to play every once in a while. Although I got a 2-year-old girl, so I'm gonna have to wait until after she goes to sleep before I can play it.
All right.
So yeah, there's my thing.
Yeah, so that was my week. Was Don't Starve. My weekend.
Yay! You didn't starve this week.
I didn't starve. I'm still here. What about you? What did you do?
Well, I've been solidifying down which mods I want to put into Minecraft, and I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at that. It's like, okay, I got this. I'm liking that. I think I'm gonna go with the Mo Creatures. I'm looking at the furniture mod. I'm saying no. I mean, it's nice to have the couch I can sit down on, but there's some interesting errors that could ruin parts of the land if you do things wrong. And there's I'm reading up on the stove because it can cook 9 different items and it doesn't require fuel. And I'm looking at it, and it's there's an error with this where if you take the food out potentially in the wrong way or while it's cooking, you could crash the entire game. And I'm like, I like the stuff. It's nice furniture. I don't need the computer and all that, but the basic, furniture stuff is looking pretty good. But, no, I don't want something that has that, game crashing bug in there. I got to keep away from that. So, it took me a long time to decide on that, because dude, a couch I can sit down on. Oh boy, real furniture. But in the end, I decided, no, sorry, not going to do it. But the big one was I wanted a little magic in the game, sort of thing. I wanted a little spice in my life, sort of thing. So I was looking at the magic mods, and the biggest one, apparently by far, is Thaumcraft for thaumatology.
Yep. Cool.
I started a new game, sort of thing, just to test the whole thing out. What is it like? It's taken me most of a week. I'm still not shooting fireballs anywhere, so it's not that magical. But my goodness, this game. How's the best way to describe it? Have you ever played one of the later SimCity games where they have all the features of all the previous games plus a few new ones?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, before they decided to start slimming things down to become a freemium, a tablet game or the, infamous, SimCity Online where you have to play with people, online, friends, and all that, hopefully. They're suffering from a problem of too much complexity. So they're having things like, that, okay, here's the sewer lines, here's the power lines, here's, the subterranean stuff, and everything they added in got more and more complex. And so the amount of people who could play it efficiently got smaller and smaller, because to do it properly, you kind of had to step up to it. There was no, try it on the basic mode, try it on the middle mode, try it on advanced mode, where everything comes in. It was all just, here's everything, all at once at you. So to play it properly, you kind of had to play the previous games to understand what the other stuff was, and then just learn the new stuff as you go. There was too much new stuff for a new person. And Thaumcraft really smacks of that. You really kind of had to start playing at Thaumcraft 2 to be doing the Thaumcraft 4 properly, even though they've been doing some different stuff. I start off a new game, and it's okay, I get this, I got a magic wand, I get, my Thaumonomicon, it should tell me all the stuff, and it's gives me a little information, and then if I want to research more, it's click on this with some writing stuff and some paper, and it gives you a mini game to play. And so I figure out how to do that, and I'm looking at the mini games I got no clue. I got no clue how to do any of this. Where am I getting these research points on the other side? How am I getting that? Turns out I need to create another item that needs gold. Gold not always easy to get on the first day of the game. And until that happened, I was making no progress. The only thing I was doing was able to find some mineral clusters in the earth that if I put 6 of them together, made a nice little thing I could put up on the wall, and it looks all fancy and kind of sparks with electricity every once in a while. So the entire mod for a few days was a few tables and some spiky crystals on the wall. I had a lot of interesting time adventuring, trying to figure stuff out, because it's okay, I've also got the Tinker's mod on, so if I can find some gold gravel, then I don't have to dig so far down in the earth. I can get that gold I apparently need to make the item that allows me to really advance and get the points I need. Yeah. And so I was hey, there's some gold there, and there's some nice strange people over there. I bet you they're villagers. According to my admits, that says there should be a village nearby. Maybe they got a different kind of village going on. They got some nice outfits. Oh boy, they're coming up to trade with me. Smack, 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 smack! I'm dead. It's whoa, what was that? Denim Magus was slayed by a Crimson Knight. So I respawn, pause the game, Google up Crimson Knight Thaumcraft wiki. And it's they're horrible, unnatural people guarding evil clerics. So it's well, geez, I guess that's kind of nice to know now. But I didn't even expect it, because one of the core things about Minecraft is that you're on the surface in the day. You don't really have to worry about enemies. There's who's there to attack you in the daytime?
Yeah, that's true.
So I found that interesting. It's I had that as such a core assumption. It never even occurred to me these guys might be hostile until they're hitting me with steel or iron swords. My goodness. But yeah, I was able to get everything needed, and I sneak up, get all my stuff back, and dig up the gold and get back. But oh my goodness, it's once I got it, it's a watershed. I'm looking it's a little visor is what you have to look through, and you're looking through everything, and you can scan everything for what is this composed of? Oh, I can't learn about what potatoes are made of. They're too advanced for me right now. I have to go look at stuff like seeds and wood and sand and learn the basics and build up to more advanced things like potatoes. And so once I got everything together, it really started coming in, and I figured out how to play that. There's a little mini-game to solve your research stuff. So you have to connect the 2 points through linked attributes. So you have to connect fire to, we'll say, water. So you go connect to the fire that's an element that's got, we'll say, fire and earth, lava. And then you connect the earth, aspect to that. So you form a little chain of a line until they connect. So
there's a screen with these things.
They're little hexagons, and you got to make it from A to B. Or in some cases, I got some researchers that has 4 things to connect up, whichever way you see fit, whichever way you can, because you every time you put something on that little list, you use up 1 research point of something you've discovered.
Okay.
So you can't go that way because you don't have any points left in this. You used it too many times, and now you've run out. You have to do some extra work to get them back, or just try a different route. And so I was invading my dreams. What am I supposed to be doing with this? How is it connected? I've been told it's a mini game. What sort of game am I playing? How does this connect up? But it finally started piecing together, and I'm starting to I made some very nice progress last night. Stayed up till 1:30 in the morning. Okay, I can do this. I get this. I got points for this. I'm doing this. I can make a chest that eats things. Oh boy. Oh no, why is this bubbling out of my cauldron? There's purple ooze. So in the end, I think I'm going to keep it. But for a while there, it was really up in the air. It's doing like the only thing it really did for me is create some nice looking tables. Like the wand that I had, I was able to, like, whenever a creature dies around me, I absorb some extra energy, and it's in my wand, and I'm like, what is in this wand? What is these things? And it says, go on there, it's like, it's called Viz, and like, okay, that's nice to know. Viz is like an aspect separated from its material components. So it's like it's essence personified, and you can suck it up into your wand. And I'm like, well, how do I use it? And there's nothing provided on how to use it, so I don't know, like, what the heck is this? What does it do for me?
No documentation.
It's very obtuse, but maybe magic should be a little obtuse. A lot of trial and error, discovery stuff. I enjoyed it in the end. Once I got that, I hate to use the term, but it's called a thermometer, because it looks at the thermological properties of things. But once you get your thermometer, you're able to look at all sorts of stuff, and it really picks up then. So until then, I was like all it's doing for me is some fancy tables and some nice, like, wall design crystals. I mean, I can get, like, a few heads thanks to like the proper chopper and Tinker's construct and all that. So next to all that, like next to the zombie heads I've got up on the wall, I've got a few sparking crystals. But I'm thinking, it's like, there are mods that just do props. You want props, you add like a props mod.
Yeah.
And that's the same darn thing, and I can get more props a lot easier than having to dig through the bowels of the earth for this stuff.
Yeah.
So until I got that, everything started clicking together. It was just like, why am I still playing this? Why don't I just delete it, go back to my old game, and just keep playing that? Find another magic mod. Mm-hmm. But in the end, I think it's starting to come together. I'm now that I know how to play, like, the little mini games, I'm starting to get so I'm getting progress on that.
Oh yeah. Cool.
I'm sitting down. I'm alt tabbing so that I know which things I need to push to connect up, because I don't have it all in my head, and it's written in Latin. So yeah.
Like real Latin or sort of pseudo Latin?
Yeah, kind of 50-50. They try and keep proper Latin where they can, but there's some things that don't properly translate to that, so they have to. Guessing conjugation. They've done very well, though. So, I won't say it's pseudo-Latin, but sometimes their Latin might not be conjugated properly for how they want to use it.
Okay.
But, Latin conjugation is, like, horrible. There are, like, 15 ways to conjugate a single word sometimes, and depending on past, present, particle, where it's connected, is it isolated? It's like, you Romans are insane.
That's just how people talked, and then somebody wrote it down and figured out there was a pattern to it, and then... I'm actually surprised that I've attempted learning some Latin, and I could not tell if a Latin thing is correct or not. I mean, I can tell if something looks sort of Latin-y. That's about as far as I can get.
There are some things I've learned where oh no, it wouldn't actually be conjugated like this, because that's kind of like stapling two words together. That said, I do believe maybe the entire world would be better off if we all adopted the German version of adding a noun by hooking two verbs together.
Okay.
Sometimes it creates some really long, obtuse words, but you know what? It's very efficient. What's this? It's a this, that, or. Bam. It connects up like that, and that means you can basically get the gist of what it's supposed to do by connecting these words together. You see that happen in English from time to time, but... it's unofficial. It's not something like, that's not how it's supposed to work. Yeah. Well, I think, English tends to, over time, it sort of loses spaces between words. You have words that are just
hijinks.
That's a nice how it got, two words, hyphenated word, now it's just one word.
Yeah, it gradually seems to squish into one word.
Because English is the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are the babbling brook of languages. Hooray.
Well, there is some resistance and friction within the language. Otherwise,
but most of those are artificial constructs. Like when people were, everybody used to know Latin if you were educated, and thus in Latin you cannot end a word with a preposition. How dare you do something like that? That's horrible stuff. And they put it into English, but there are a lot of English phrases where you end with a preposition. That's what it is. And I just ended with a preposition that way, but it makes complete sense.
Well, you ended with a verb there, but...
Oh, sorry, no, sorry, yeah.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
That's how it goes to. But it makes sense. People understand what you mean, and then they put in, oh no, Latin doesn't work this way, so English shouldn't work that way either, and so it winds up the impositions are artificially imposed. English naturally is a weird, crazy little thing like that.
I'm with you on that, but I also think that English still does have... And for good reason, it has resistance to change, at least some resistance, because otherwise every two-word combo would just be a single word. Like we don't have that, and it just doesn't feel normal.
Well, that's why we go. That's why you go back to like the Greek and Latin stuff. It's like we want a far caller. No, it's called the telephone now. And it makes our words sound classier, I like to think.
Yeah,
to a degree.
It might just be that what you're used to. That's my thought on that. It's just if you.
With the Latin and all that, and the prefixes and suffixes, you can get some really detailed stuff with just like piecing them together, sort of Lego wise, right?
Yeah.
And that's right. I just verbed Lego wise. I used the noun Lego into like a verb. It's Lego wise.
Okay.
I'm able to do that because it's English. We can verb anything. I just verbed verb. Boom.
Yeah, but
blow your mind.
Other people have verbed verb already.
I know.
I'm pretty sure verb is already a verb.
But it's not something that's supposed to be in most languages. Verb is like a noun, which is kind of crazy, right? How can a verb be a noun? The word verb is a noun. That's how it is. But no, we're doing some fun things with the English language because we can take the passive lesser resistance as long as it makes sense to everyone we're talking to, or enough of the people we're talking to. It's valid. It's a dialect now if we can get enough people to speak it that way. Dig it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know.
It's groovy, man. It's groovy.
I definitely agree with you that English is, let me see, it's somewhat fluid.
Possibly one of the most fluid extant languages.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it's just say whatever you want and just make up whatever word you want.
I don't know. They're trying to add new words to the Oxford Dictionary every year, and every year it gets more and more, just depressingly sad.
And it's at a certain rate. It's not like it's not this year like we have an infinite new number of words to add to the English language. It's just people have been using sort of this new word this year.
But some words are dying out quicker than they can come up with thanks to stuff like the Twitter feeds. The companies using them. Mm-hmm. Like bay was going to wind up being put into the Oxford Dictionary, but it's being considered like no, people aren't using it as much. Why? Because stuff like. I hate to say any potential people that might sponsor us, but stuff like Pizza Hut puts on like a Twitter post that goes, "If Bay eats your last slice, Bay is not Bay," and it's like, no, you guys are like technically it's all right, you're conjugating it properly and all that, but no, you're not fooling the youth culture at all into thinking you're young and hip too.
I don't even know what you're saying. What is bae?
It's supposed to be like your special someone, your significant other.
Oh, and how do you spell it?
BAE. But because it got hipped, it's been in a few songs. I think that Pharrell Williams put it in the song, as part of the title and in the lyrics and all that.
Yeah,
and
it's short for baby.
Yeah, effectively, yeah. And so when the various corporations saw, it's like, oh, that looks like a hip word that young people like to use. Let's put it in our Twitter feed to make them know that we are young and hip as well. And then because they used it, it's like, well, yeah, no, you're not young and hip. You've just ruined the word.
But young people like pizza. What?
But young people don't like Twitter.
Young people like
groups.
Twitter. I don't see what the problem is.
Young people don't like the corporations of Twitter utilizing their terminology for advertising purposes.
It depends. Some of them do.
A lot of them get turned off by it, sort of thing. There's even a Twitter feed that collects all the other uses of corporations using "bay" and other terminology like that, and it just comments on them and relinks them and shows people just how ridiculous it is. That one's more popular than some of the actual corporations are. It's got more followers right now.
I guess if you're a hipster, then you're like. I'm
not a hipster, but I do appreciate the use of the word, significant other, babe, paramour. Okay. I think there's a lot of words. You don't need to invent a new one, bae, to make it work.
That's useful for Twitter, though, because it's so short.
Well, I can understand it for Twitter in that case.
I guess you could use SO.
Yeah.
On Twitter. That's shorter.
Yeah.
But that's also so, and that can be confusing.
You can do S.O. It's the same amount of letters as bae.
Yeah.
Mm. But, whatever. So, in the end, I'm not the one who's going to decide what word is and is not, allowed in the English language. That's up for the masses to decide. But if the corporations keep using it for their own advertising purposes, those words are going to die off pretty quick because no one wants to be seen as like, oh, yeah, you're using the word, like corporations wind up using to try and market themselves.
Well, maybe, but I don't think it's quite... I think some corporate words have sort of latched on. And
corporate words have latched on,
Well,
but corporate appropriation of slang has turns off from the slang.
That might be the case, but I think sometimes they do it, and you don't even notice you don't even notice that they've done it.
Well, that's once the word's got.
Just a word.
Once the word gets so in there, but apparently "bay" is still a really fresh term. Like it is
it's new to me. So.
Yeah, it's so new, sort of thing that like when the corporations pick it up that quickly, it's like like a Brian Adams song immediately being sold to use for Coca-Cola commercials right now, sort of thing. While it's still being played on the radio, a lot of people wound up not liking the song because it's like, that's the Coke song. That's the song they're using for Coke right now. I don't want to have ask on a request a 3-minute song that connects my mind to Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is good. I wouldn't mind a 3-minute connection to Coca-Cola. But I don't. Actually, there was that one Coke song. Always Coca-Cola sort of thing. They had a nice little thing going. Had a good beat, had a nice little thing to it. Yeah.
I like Coke because...
Wherever there's a beat, there's always a drum. Wherever there's fun, there's always Coca-Cola. I mean, that stuff works, sort of thing, because they made a song just for that. They didn't just okay, this is a song we're using in our commercials now, but it's also being played on the airwaves because it's still so fresh.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll solve that problem.
It's beyond the two of us.
It is the case that all kinds of corporations, like car companies, will just grab a song that everybody likes, and that's now our car song, that's now associated with our car. And I don't know. I like cars.
It always struck me as a little weird, though, because a short little custom, made jingle lasts in my head a lot longer than them taking a song that already exists and using it for their own. I watched WKRP in Cincinnati back in the day. For those of you who are old enough to remember, it's this fun little series. They had one of their biggest customers was Red Wigglers. They sell bait, like fish bait.
Okay.
And their jingle was Red Wigglers, the Cadillac of worms, the Cadillac of worms. I still remember instantly in my head to this day because it was just a short little jingle made on their own. And so everyone just don't you remember Red Wigglers? And everyone would go, the Cadillac of worms, the Cadillac of worms. And they'd even snap their fingers properly to the whole thing, and they'd go along with the beat. And it became a bit of a running joke in the series. But it's its own jingle, it's its own thing. It didn't come off of anything else. And I'm able to memorize it decades later, still fresh in my head. So I think, if you're going to do advertising, make it your own. It's like writing. You got to make it your own thing. You can't just steal from someone else and expect it to be the big thing, right?
Well, they're not stealing. They're literally buying.
Well, in this case, more of a cultural stealing sort of thing. They buy it legally sort of thing, but they're not making anything new. It's like saying, oh, yes, I've got dwarves in my campaign. What are they like? You read Tolkien stuff? They're that. It's nothing fresh. You're not bringing anything new to the table on your campaign with dwarves. Not that every campaign needs to, but if you want to make something yours, you want to write a story about dwarves, it's got to be yours. You got to make sure these dwarves are you are these dwarves, and these dwarves are not just like Tolkien stuff, but no, we're just collecting a second paycheck on the side, because
the Tolkien estate is paying you to...
No, the dwarves are getting a second paycheck. They're the same dang dwarves. Yeah.
Okay. So you're paying the Tolkien estate? Or?
So yeah, it's no, I'm not Thorin Oakenshield. I'm Borin Irontree. Yeah, that's who I am. Just ignore the fact that I look exactly like Thorin Oakenshield, because they bring nothing new to the table. If you want to get something your own, if you want to really get yourself into the consciousness of others, you got to bring something fresh and new.
Well, I like fresh and new stuff, so I can't disagree with you there. All right,
Beth, we've got off like a triple tangent on that one at least.
That was we had the main topic, another.
Yes. Well, I think we should go back to your thing. Is you were talking about the whole Don't Starve game and its mapping stuff.
Yeah, so I guess it's a dilemma I have as a designer and also as a player and as a person who thinks about games. So that's what we do. But there's this 2-layer system with almost any game that you play, where there's mapping. And there's when you are playing like an RPG or whatever, you're exploring areas, and that's you sort of zoom from one to the other, like there's a...
In the one sense, you are the person in the darkened 10-foot by 10-foot by 10-foot room, fighting the orc for pie.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you are on this square in the grid, fighting the character who's on that square on the grid.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is a problem, but I'm not sure like how to solve it, because almost every game has sort of that mapping phase. And when you get into mapping, like when you're as a character, when you're mapping, you're looking at the world a very different way than you would as that individual. And
you're not looking at the office building as an office building. You're looking at it as like, okay, these are squares here. These qualify as like obstructing terrain, although they could be used for someone who's got like a proper amount of strength to try and push and do like a bull rush attack with a bit of an extra distance. Yeah. This here counts as partial or full cover. These are cubicles. You can just hide forever in those ones. Very little blast resistance on, though. Anything AoE stuff takes them out completely. And so you're thinking on a much more tactical level.
Well, there's some of that, but there's also some of I'm just filling in space. Like I'm just.
Isn't that what cubicles are really for? Just to fill in space?
In video games, you're just erasing darkness. You're like, it's like, have you ever done?
I've done many games where I the original StarCraft game was like I couldn't finish a map without taking an airborne unit over everywhere just to get the full map. Even if like the cloud of war comes back and I can't see it, at least it's not the blackened part. I don't need to see it. There's nothing over there, but it's still in my mind. I gotta see what's over top of that mountain. What's on the far end? Is there a little extra like hidey cove I can have there?
Well, and sometimes there were.
So yeah, that's maybe I've been trained in that regard.
Yeah, but I'm thinking it's almost like playing like MS Paint or something. And I've done this in MS Paint. Is you draw like some drawing and you're like, oh, okay, or some abstract thing, and you're like, okay, I want to fill it in, but I don't feel like just erasing the whole canvas, so I'm going to take the eraser tool or the paintbrush tool and paint everything on the screen all in with the one little tool. Did you ever do that?
I've done many sorts of things like that. I mean, honestly, who hasn't designed a dungeon in D&D for the first time and they want to use every darn square of the graph paper, right?
Yeah.
And so you've got little secret areas here and there's a passageway there. And so if someone is wise enough to figure out where to start drawing the map, they can figure out all the empty spots by saying, this top left corner is completely undone. I think we're missing, this is where they've got a secret door somewhere in amongst here. Search this room, that room, and the third room. Failing that, there's some corridors in between we might want to pay attention to. That's a bit of a meta thought, though.
It's a bit meta, but also like you could picture a character like your dungeoneering dwarf, with skills in architecture, and he knows
it's dwarven architecture, and you always build in cuboidal formation. You don't leave a square.
Exactly. So there's a little bit of immersion, but it just feels to me like there's two separate. Like I'm playing two different games
I've played a game against the PCs before by having a blank square. It's like I use this for my random monster encounter. So there's a nice square in the center of the map where it says exactly what the monsters are. Like roll the die 12 for random monster encounters, and then they're all trying to figure out how do we get towards the center of the thing. It's like no, there is no center of it. That's just all blank space. I was using that for my little like D12 table.
well, hang on. So if it's a dungeon.
Yes.
If it's underground and like hewn out of the rock or something or what, then there has to be some. I mean, it might. Just
there should be, but the amount of dungeons
with dirt, right? It could be just because that's what they used to do with walls, like for castles and stuff. There'd be a stone wall and a stone wall on the other side, and there'd be like 5 feet of dirt in between.
Dirt, if you're lucky. Sometimes it was worse stuff than that. It was just any material at hand, right?
Broken pottery or just garbage or
feces sometimes.
Animal carcasses or bones.
Oh, animal carcasses were not actually preferred because they decompose, and that leads to hollow pockets. Yeah. If you grind it all up, make it into a mulch, I suppose that works then. But that's extra work, man. Just put it on the fields. But yeah, they did fill it in with whatever. Because, I mean, dude, you don't want, like, 10 feet long pieces of stone. What is this? We're not making Stonehenge here. We're just coming up with fortifications. Come on.
And I don't know what your players ended up doing, but I would be
going nuts trying to find their way to the center secret heart of the maze.
Well, couldn't you, like, just grab a pick or something? I mean, this is my training from Minecraft. Just go through that wall. I suppose D&D is a little different. You can't always just chop straight through a wall.
I think that's exactly why they came up with the X-ray spell in the earlier editions. It's like, I have to find out what's through here.
Yeah.
Although I still think X-ray is a bad name for it. They should have called it, well, see, they had the airy water spell that allowed you to effectively breathe like air in water, so they could have called this airy earth site.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of X-ray, because X-ray is very much not a medieval style to it. So call it the airy earth sight spell that allows you to see through the dirt itself and find the hollow pockets within. Dwarves usually use this to try and find close deposits of minerals. And that's your nice little background information as to how the spell is created. Adventurers find it very useful for finding a secret room. And yeah, there have been a few times where I got my big old war sledge out and just started cracking a wall down because it's like, dang it, I know there's a way through here, but I don't have any ranks in finding anything like this, so I'm just going to take the hard way through.
So another thing about mapping is it's very fun, like as a DM and a world creator, I really enjoy like create a brand new map. Like, you know, we're doing a new, like this is here and this is there and this is great. And I wonder, like, how does that compare to the fun of exploring a map? Is it less fun to explore a map that somebody's already made? Like, and could you have a D&D game where the players were creating as they adventured or something?
Like how so? Like they actually help determine what's, you know, beyond the next hill?
I guess, well, one thing that I have seen is they roll dice for random, you know, corridors or whatever. You know, roll a die and see where the
yes, I have a couple books on that. You know, the random dungeon creation throughout a couple different editions. Very interesting stuff. Maybe not for every style thing, but you know, if you're just sitting down for like a one night off sort of thing, like okay, we're gonna roll until we come up with 5 rooms, and then that's your 5-room dungeon for the night. I didn't have time to pre-roll, so you know, like whoever wants to be, you know, the fortune man of the night, they get to roll the die and determine what goes on next in the next corridor, or the next room.
I guess
So if like there's an ogre, you know, facing you, level 1 adventurers in the next room, you can totally blame Gordy for that one because he rolled it.
Yeah.
He's the one who got double zeros 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Blame him.
Well, as long as there's technically a way out, just back the same way you came.
I've noticed ogres are pretty darn quick. There's never a fast enough way out when you're running from an ogre and you're at half hit points.
Well, what if the doors are like, you know, human-sized doors?
And that's why ogres are nice and oily and ugly and messy, so they squeeze through doors so much easier.
Sweat their way through the door.
And that's the tactical bonus of being a sweaty, horrible ogre.
I guess they would, yeah, if the dungeon is, like, confined and crap.
How did they even get in there? Well, they came in as a baby ogre, and they just kind of grew up eating rats ever since. No.
That's the way they describe it sometimes with the dragons who are in there.
Yeah, that always struck me as like, it doesn't really work for me, but whatever.
So mapping is, it's different. It feels different, and I don't know if that's a good thing because you have other like mini games in D&D or other like you have. There's
the fighting thing, the tactical stuff, you know, going on. Do you really need to like how many feet is this corridor we're in?
Well, some people will want that, and some characters.
I used to be really big on that myself, making sure I get every little square properly mapped out. Like, okay, don't want to be meta, but which square end of this map should I start drawing on so I don't have to draw it on 2 pieces of paper? It's like, no, I'm not going to, you know, actually let this out, but put it in the left corner. That's how it should go.
Yeah, well, and so it's not entirely, like, we talk about simulation versus gamist.
Well, that's the thing, though, is like, in the last couple of years, I've been thinking about maps a little differently, and it occurs to me, like, maybe it would be best for me just, if I'm a mapper, to do, like, lines to show the corridors or the paths connected by circular stuff, and I'll just write what the room is like here, maybe make a note or 2 in that. And maybe that's all I really need to do for most rooms, unless I'm doing an actual maze with full of like intricate traps. It's like, because we stepped on this and this pressure plate did something, now this area is closed. And so, you know, unless it's that complex, like a design layout, I think just the circles connected by lines is all you really need to do for most situations. I think that might all that a dungeon master needs to do, and just work things out. Although I will state. You did say earlier that like every game has, you know, the whole concept of like, you know, the graphing area and like how far away you are. I have noted TriStat, one of my particular fan favorites, doesn't really have that. You basically ask, you know, it's like, I think, you know, I'm pretty close to this guy. I'm within range to use my short range attack, right? And then, I guess you are close enough. Go for it. It's much more role playing as opposed to stat based sort of thing in this case. I haven't tried it out for any long-distance sort of style, but I know on the play-by-post stuff I did back in the day, it worked out a lot better than having to have somebody like constantly updating a map over on, you know, like the image shack sort of thing. Like, we're here, we're there. No, it's like, you know what, you're in this room with the layers sort of thing. It's the evil hench lord's lair. He's standing on a grand dais sort of thing. He's got a clear line of sight, you know, to you guys. You got a clear line of sight to him. It's a little further, like you're just entering the room, so you're a little further away than the 50 range sort of thing, because it's, you know, grand overlord thing. But if you rush up, you can you can get close enough to fire off an attack sort of thing. It's a little bit more nebulous, but a little bit smoother and a lot friendlier in that case. I think, from what I've seen, that might be more of a trend in more newer designed games. I know the Vampire, World of Darkness stuff has always tried to go for that way, more on the role-playing as opposed to where you are in the room, how many feet away are you. So I think that might wind up being the ultimate verdict, is depending on the complexity of the design, it depends on how much mapping you are going to have to do.
Yeah, and I like to stick with when it comes to D&D. I do like to not throw out things like, because I think Gary Gygax was pretty big on that whole style of drawing on graph paper and stuff.
That's it. There is advantages to it. I remember playing a game with a person who'd been first-time gamer, and it involved fight like I think it was a Sunken Citadel map. And there's one fight where kobolds are coming at you from one side, and there's a pit trap behind you. And they had a hard time, okay, so what's going on where? Until I drew it, okay, here's the corridor. We've got the pit trap behind you here. It's a 10 by, wide corridor, and we've got goblins here. You guys are about on here. And I'll put a small line on the side of the pit trap there to mark where you guys were able to, scoot across. You can't run across there, but, with a little time you can get back there. Goblins are harrying you, though, with ranged weapons if you try that, so you might not want to consider it unless you get hit in the head and maybe have risk a balance check to avoid falling in. And that really helped the situation out for them. They found it so much easier to be in the mindset. And that was somebody who played a lot of WoW, where, you do need to know distances fairly decently, but it's not a grid-based system. And so in that case, just having that says, okay, I'm this far, and then the mind worked out the rest. They didn't need anything else. Okay, this is how it goes, this is where I am, okay. In the mind, and then they didn't even need to reference it until somebody was moving far enough, or I think they're playing a warlock. It's okay, so my giant swarm of insects moves that further down, and okay, so we're marking this here, and we had a penny to move that on there where the insects were. So in which case it can be very helpful in the tactical fighting situation, especially when you're in tight corridors. How far I'm away from here, how far there. So what you might want to do is just keep the mapping fairly nebulous until you do get into those combat type encounters, in which case then you got a graph board to use, something to write down so that everyone can see where you are when it matters the most. If you're just doing the exploring aspect of the game, don't think it's going to matter too much. You don't need to really worry.
Well, I like what you just said there, because what it basically says is that you have these tools available if you need them. If you should need to describe the situation.
Should you need us, we're there for you.
Yeah, and it's one more thing for the DM to have at his disposal. Doesn't necessarily have to use it all the time, and it's also one more thing for the players, because if the DM can sort of sit behind a screen and just say, I'll give you whatever information you need, and let the players sort of decide, are we going to map this 5x5 squares at it one at a time, or are we just sort of going to draw our own little circles and say, this is how it goes?
Circle and line, sort of like a brainstorming sort of situation. And you know what? For stuff like where you're going deep underground and where it's not that close together between the sites and locations.
Yeah, like the Underdark.
Yeah, I think the circle line is all the DM really needs, sort of thing. It's we'll say if you're marking your way on that way, or you can study it properly as you're going down, then yeah, it's guaranteed that way. Otherwise, I'll roll a 1 in 6. There's a 50-50 chance of you guys not figuring out which way is the right way to go, and you wind up down a couple dead ends before you figure your way out, and that's going to eat up more time, and you're going to wind up being tired, earlier on.
Now,
so that's a time-based thing. That's an issue for another day. How long did it take?
One other thing about D&D is always, or is very often a lot, sort of the assumed way is that you don't have basically a linear dungeon. And
well, the traditional stuff was it started off linear, and then Gygax was doing some interesting things whereby there's so many branching paths.
Yeah.
But by that time, he had a situation whereby the people knew his style so well they would always take the right path. He had one he was talking about where you take this right path and you wind up with a portal that takes you to the other side of Earth, he there's a lot of areas. This is a big dungeon area because Gygax, he loved his big dungeon stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so the one guy he sends down, it's because he was doing solo adventures back then. His guys were pros, man. You don't need 4 people. I can do a solo. Rah. And the guy took every right turn, every proper turn, and he made himself, there. And it's well, Gygax was I can't believe he managed to find the exact right route on the first time. Wow, what an interesting coincidence that he didn't take any detours, any wrong ways. And then another person tried it, same map, later on in the week. These two people had no connection. They didn't share any information. It was back before cell phones and texting, of course, so you couldn't do that. They had no connection, and he made all the same moves. He did all the same stuff, and he wound up in the same location because they had learned the style. Whether knowingly or not, they were able to discern which way is the right path. So in which case, his incredible detail wound up backfiring on him. If he kept things a little bit more nebulous, maybe he could have prevented design flaws. I don't want to call them design flaws because they're really quirks that his players were able to suss out.
Would it be cheating your players if you just did a straight, basically like miles long tunnel or something like that? That it was
a shotgun shack of dungeons.
Underdark adventure. Sure, shotgun shack where it's just there are no or very few branching paths. The branching paths are like, here's a little somebody lives here, but you just go 10 feet.
Otherwise, it's A, B, C, D, E.
Otherwise, it's just. Do you think players feel cheated by that in a video game or even like a World of Warcraft dungeon?
I hate to say it, but I think they would feel cheated in a pen and paper sort of game.
Yeah.
But I do know a lot of them just don't seem to care about a very linear dungeon and stuff like WoW. Like I remember going through a number of like Auchindoun dungeons. It's like, oh, there's a doorway there, but it doesn't actually open. It's just like a facade doorway. There's nothing on there. It's like otherwise a very linear dungeon. Although a few of them were nice in that by the time you got to the end, you'd gone full circle. So the way out was just kind of go off this drop. You couldn't go up. And then just walk out the door. That was some nice stuff. That was very, very helpful game design. You don't have to go all the way back. Yeah. Or just, like abandoned group and, hearthing out, buddy. So, so I think there's a lot more leeway in the electronic format. It's like, no, you don't need every little nook and cranny done out. This is how the dungeon goes. Here's your trash mobs. Here are your mini bosses. Here's your major boss. Mm-hmm. You want the loot? Go for it. That said, I wouldn't mind trying something like that, especially a repeatable dungeon, in a D&D format and see how the players take to repeating the same dungeon time and again.
Like if it's just sort of a straight, like very linear or like a highly linear dungeon, maybe not 100% linear.
I could have it branch, but the branches would likely feed back on each other, so you could either take the left route with a lot of undead trash mobs to make it to the mini-boss, or take the right where you get to face the cultists. Apparently bringing up the undead here until you get to the mini-boss sort of thing. But otherwise, effectively, pretty darn linear style, and see how that plays out with a repetitious sort of thing. I might need to commandeer you for testing on that, Josh.
Okay, I might try that. I guess the important thing, what players need, especially in like that tabletop version, is they need choices to make. They need to be. I think that's the big advantage of tabletop is you can go infinite directions and do infinite things because the only thing that's really stopping you is the game rules saying that you didn't roll high enough, you didn't do that, and imagination.
Yeah. So, like, seeing a locked door that actually doesn't go anywhere because the dungeon arcs this way to get to the boss, so you don't need to go that way. That gets a lot of people. I remember reading fun classic stories from the Knights of the Dinner Table series where like they encounter a passageway that goes nowhere. It just kind of ends in rubble. And BA who's the DM? Yeah, because that's nice. BA the DM.
Oh yeah.
He's explaining something like it ended off. Like it just kind of peters out. They never finished it. And the guys are like, "No way, man! It cost this much to clear out an area and all that. And like nobody would have built this far in just to stop it. This is too valuable a tunnel. There has to be something in there." And so they come up with stuff, and they got they're using their magical items and all their spells to excavate. Oh boy, with all this going on here, we're doing like a 10 by 10 square every half hour. We're totally gonna find his secret room. Ha ha ha. Because they didn't believe that there could be a spot that just doesn't go anywhere or just doesn't do anything that gets them loot. Yeah. So there's some interesting pre-assumptions in some groups on that because of the infinite degrees of potential freedom and the secrets that might be there.
I actually like the in-world justification. I like that as a role-playing exercise. Just that the players, the characters in the world.
Nobody would spend 200,000 gold building a corridor that goes nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just stupid architecture.
Yeah. I like that. I wouldn't like it so much if it was like, the DM wouldn't do that. I like it that there's an in-game.
He must be hiding a secret, there had to be some sort of magic stuff going on through there. There's got to be a secret room behind there. We'll find it yet. I use my Big B's clawing hands to be digging through the earth sort of thing. I've also got, he's casting the weakened earth spell, so I'm able to really dig through. We'll find that secret room. He can't keep the loot from us all the time. We got him now.
So I guess that's another thing, is the players, I don't know, good or bad or just
greedy
sort of players, they'll create their own sort of choices. Like, you could...
That's the fun of the pen and paper stuff there, is that those options are incredibly valid. You can't do that in a game. You can try and swing your weapon against that door in the Warcraft dungeon. You could be logged on until the servers go down for maintenance. You could be there for just under 7 days straight trying to attack the wall. You are not going to make a dent anywhere there. And so that lack of freedom just promotes people to say, okay, no, I can't get in there. Just keep going this way then. Go this way, go do that, go here. That said, I think that you could do some interesting stuff with certain keys on certain bosses to unlock different paths towards the end boss sort of thing. For a dungeon that could be very rewarding and make people really want to explore all the areas, find all the I have to find all 6 keys to get to all proper routes to get all the proper treasure, because you can't get into the final treasure vault unless you've got all 6 keys, and the keys can be used once to get to a certain path that less opponents, or better loot. But all 6 keys are needed for the final dungeon vault. Okay. Dare you find all 6 keys by searching all things and killing all the bosses?
I guess another way you could have a linear dungeon, but you could play with the 4th dimension, by which I mean time, and you could have certain timed events. You could have a player, because I'm trying to think of choice points, decision points, or whatever you call them, where the players are in a room, they have to make a decision, and there's only one direction for them to go. It's a very linear dungeon, but you could have something if you wait for 2 hours, some patrol will show up and they'll have key information for you, or you might kill them, or they might have a key, a literal key.
So what if it was a mechanical clockwork dungeon where you had to be at the certain room at the certain time to make it to the next room, so you had to time things up properly?
Well,
so it's giant gears moving around, and there's okay, so the first one's moving really fast, so you got to make a proper dexterity jump sort of thing to make it through it without getting clipped by a big metal beam as it comes down on you. Where the other ones move slowly, so it's you're gonna have to wait here for the proper time. So if you want to go into the dungeon and clear things out properly, you have to start 6 a.m. Clear these rooms out so fast, get the problems solved out to make it to the next area to get it in time.
Yeah, it would be kind of cool if there was a way to not just telegraph it, because if you say, okay, players, your job to get through the next room is to wait until 6 a.m. and then go through, and the players, okay, we wait until 6 a.m. and then go through. But if you somehow...
Well, you don't tell them at 6 a.m. You got to keep them on watch, I think, and then all of a sudden, it shifts, it moves. You hear it rumbling again. Oh no, you got to go! Everyone awake! Go, go, go! Dive!
I like that too. You could even have baddies rush into the room near that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. They can only repopulate stuff as they come on out, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you could have some very interesting things. I mean, you could have verbal communication between the ears. They got voice pipes, you have in the bow system. Okay, I got full point on forehead,
Yeah, okay, I think that could work. I mean,
it'd be a quirky dungeon. I don't know if it'd work for everyone.
Yeah, we're just kind of brainstorming ideas here, but maybe somebody could pick up and run with it, or maybe I could at some point.
Or maybe it could be an accursed sort of dungeon whereby you have to clear out the undead within a certain time. Because they'll reform or come back to re-health, every 10 minutes. So you got to make through this dungeon. You got to figure out what you need to do to open up the lock on the next one before everything rises again and fight them.
Yeah, well, there's probably ways to do that satisfactorily, but I've always disliked a little bit when you hack the skeletons to pieces. You're like, finally, everything's quiet, and then the pieces start to come together again. I always hate that. For some reason, I don't know why, but I always think, that's I don't want to...
Well, I could see that as being effectively a mini-boss type situation. You got to do it right, otherwise it doesn't stick around.
Yeah. And I guess, there could be just somebody who can cast a spell, summon...
Or it could just be the horrible undead nature of that area, where the undead don't stay they're dead. They keep coming undead again.
Yeah, I suppose, if you had some solution to it, if you...
Because you are fighting in the clockwork graveyard. da-da-da-da, and hey, there's the name of your adventure right now.
But
Bam.
if the players manage to cast a hallow spell or something, they could like stop it or something like that. Something.
Or you could effectively qualify the undead as having regeneration, how long it takes for them to come back. But if you deal positive energy to them, vivitic energy, then that counts as like the fire for a troll. It doesn't heal back up for them. So you either keep knocking them down. You don't get extra experience every time you knock them down, but you get it for the first time, and after that you got to keep them down. Or you got to blow your healing spells out to keep them down permanently. You got to sever that link to the undead world. Not a bad option, I suppose. Yeah, maybe not the best one, but hey, we're just spitballing ideas here. Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to make another point about mapping.
Yes.
Sometimes you just give the players, here's your map. Like,
that's
like maybe a country.
You buy a map off of somebody who says he's been in the dungeon before. So this time the players have to double check the information because it might not be completely reliable. Maybe the guy forged the second half of the map because they were too chicken to go through the rest of it. It's like, I think it must go like this. I'm going to say watch out for the boulder trap here. And so after the first 3 rooms, things are very sketchy or just completely wrong. And so what the players thought was like, okay, we have to be prepared for poison dart traps. So we got all these antitoxin. It's like, no, you got the Indiana Jones boulder coming after you now.
Yeah. You got a map from an inept adventurer who was in the place before you and really screwed up.
He lost half of the party, sort of thing. This way, he's a really bad mapper. So the quarters are completely
still in there. We don't even know how he got the map out. Some sort of.
He's down on his luck. He's just trying to get the last amount of gold he needs to resurrect his compatriot.
Use a sending spell to send the map out. Somebody, I know this map is not good, but.
See, and that's the thing is why I like some adventuring guilds type thing. It's like you've got the map that it draws itself a copy of itself somewhere else. Ooh, yeah. So or a writing tablet, anything you write on there, it gets written on the other one, provided there's got proper paper or papyrus on there, and that way that's how the adventurers record their stuff, live time update sort of thing. Whereas you get an arcane equivalent of a internet update sort of thing.
The party's map expert got arrow trapped the first room, so somebody else had to take it.
It got right into his eye, so that while the guy's pretty good, his depth perception is absolutely horrible right now. What he thinks was 20 feet is actually only 15, and that throws the entire map off by 5 feet every room, and the rooms are always doing bad, and no one's going to help him out because he's like, oh no, I'm doing fine. I won't even need an eye patch. We just got to get back to that cleric in time.
And where's their cleric? I guess the cleric.
They don't have a cleric in that party. They got a paladin. He's their healer.
Okay.
But he ain't got the spell enough to pop an eye back in your head.
Yeah. He can lay on hands, but that can only do so much.
He doesn't want to lay a hand on the guy's eye socket. It's like, okay, you're healed, but now my finger's in your eye. I don't want to pull it out because that would hurt and be kind of disgusting. And I don't know how this would solve the problem any worse than what we had before. Yeah. So, I guess we're adventuring with my finger in your retina.
Yeah, hopefully you enjoy mapping that way.
Maybe you should have considered the eye patch, buddy. We can put a little armor on the eye patch. It won't happen again. You get AC3 against your, eye.
But I like that every time you give the players a map, there's a catch to it. It can't be a perfect map because that feels a little bit like the players would be losing out if you just gave the complete map of the dungeon. Say, here's what the dungeon looks like.
Here's what the map looked like when dwarves ruled it. But since this place has fallen to the orcs and the goblins, we believe they have made many other works and modified it to their own design.
I like all these little twists that we could probably think of some more, but you can't just.
This was before the great shaking of the earth when the gods decided that the civilization that was just up on the continent had to get punished. So everything's a little different now, if nothing else has partially collapsed.
Yeah, so it's not a game if it's just follow a straightforward, exactly perfect map. It's not really. It loses some kind of fun, right? Or does it?
Well, if the players aren't that big, you're like, okay, listen, you guys got no rogue. Nobody wanted to play the rogue this time, so we're not going to do any secret corridors. So here's effectively the map as what we believe it to be, based on the scrying spells cast by your mentor wizard. That's your inside information. That's how come you're going to succeed where others have failed. That's your key thing. You know which way to go. Mm-hmm. That's not that bad. And you know what? I think that gives a good, thing why you should have a mentor. Why you should have that higher level person who tells you to go, muck out the stables twice a week when you're not out adventuring for them.
Yeah, because they can give you useful stuff like maps or magic items or...
It's like they'll stay back, they'll create the magic item for you, but you're going to need all the components and you're going to need to cough up the cash because this ain't free, buddy. You may be the apprentice, but it's not cheap.
I think this goes to show that sort of mapping and discovery is very integral to D&D. And
I think it's integral to almost every...
I guess we already knew that. But
well, no, because I'm thinking of like some of the older games. I used to play a game on the high school computer. Well, not even high school. It'd be back pre-grade school sort of thing. Early stuff on the... There was the Macintosh Apple. The really old stuff, really old stuff. Before Mac was cool and hip and slendy and stylish. Yeah. And it was called Scarab of Ra, and you go down like in like a pyramid. You get trapped in on the pyramid, and this is not like a regular pyramid. It's like every level's got something being used, and so every level you go down on your way to try and find your way out. You get bigger and bigger. It increases, like it's a 2x2, and then a 3x3, 4x4, 5x5, and then the map gets bigger and bigger the more layers you go down. It's apparently an infinitely sized pyramid somehow. There's like lions you gotta fight. There's like trapped areas. You can get a whip that doesn't last forever, but it's a whip. And then there's like gold, and then the 3 items of Ra: the Scarab of Ra, the Crown of Ra, and the Staff of Ra. But you got all 3 of them, and a mummy comes after you. Every level there's a mummy. I know the secret to getting rid of the mummy, but I won't tell you, just in case you get a chance to play the game.
If it's available on the internet, I'll find it and put it in the show notes.
Might be. I actually kind of doubt that.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd do good. I was good. I knew how to kill the mummy, sort of thing, and I knew how to stop the lion. I had the poison blow darts to knock the lion out from across the way and all that sort of stuff. But I always died because I kept exploring every corner. I have to look at every square of the map. I don't want to leave behind even a single piece of gold because your like status when you get out, when you can find an exit, you don't always have to take the exit. You can go down another level, keep trying. But when you get out with the exit sort of thing, and it measures how many levels down did you get, how much gold did you come back with, did you get all 3 of the items of Ra, and that determines how well you did. That's your ranking score. And I would always keep going because I want to keep exploring every corner. So it'd be like I could have like been dean of professor because I had everything. I'm totally weighed down with gold. I'm killing all sorts of creatures. I know how to get rid of the mummy, but no. I got to figure out what's in that corner, and all of a sudden, bam! Poison, dart trap. Oh, down I go.
You got greedy technically greedy for money, but also greedy for that completionism a little bit, too.
That's the thing, is it had different color. Like, if you just looked down a corridor but didn't go down there, it would be a light gray, but it would still show up. If you've actually walked on it, it would be fully lightened and done, because you're mapping it every square you went. And my desire to look and make sure I knew exactly how the layout was, every level, wound up killing me. I could have made it down much farther. I could have gotten much better if I had just, figured the way out, kept on going, get as many levels down as possible and get whatever I can along the way, as opposed to getting everything, every level, clear it out, perfectionist.
Yeah.
So I died many, many times needlessly because of my greed of a complete map.
Oh, I like that. Can I do one more tangent?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, and that is, there's a difference, like, when you draw a map, when you're at the table and drawing a map, it's very simple. It's like the DM just says, oh yeah, 5 foot, here and there. And also, but sort of in real life, sort of mapping and surveying and stuff is kind of a very precise science. And in fact, in real life, even surveyors often get it wrong. This is why you have national borders that have disputes, because 2 different...
To be fair, some of them are due to greed. There's one spot, in, like, what's it? Egypt, where there's like a quirk going,
Egypt-Sudan border.
Yeah, where it goes both east and west, and both sides claim...
Ethiopia, Egypt, Sudan.
It's over there. Look it up.
Somalia.
Look up largest unclaimed areas on Earth. And each one wants to claim the larger portion. So they each say, this is the map design we use. And the other one says, this is the map design we use. And because they each claim the same land for the bigger spot, the smaller spot is not claimed by either. There is technically a spot in the middle of nowhere that neither nation wants to claim as their own. Because to claim that small spot, they'd have to forfeit the big spot.
Yeah.
I don't think there's like any resources in either one. It's just kind of like I hate to say it, but it's a bit of a pissing contest.
What I wanted to bring up was there's a bit of a discrepancy between just sitting at the table and sort of drawing squares and saying, oh, it fits to the graph paper perfectly, versus sort of what you might want to evoke in a sort of a dungeon setting is a little bit of imperfection, a little bit of even, like, especially if it's like overland travel. It might be, it might be a road that nobody's surveyed before. Somebody built a road. And then,
it's just an old deer trail, really, what it is.
Yeah, and then the players sort of have to measure it and have to figure out, like, is that going to be 1 day or 2 day or 3 day ride by horse? And
well, that's the thing is, they say it's a 3 day ride, but that's when they're moving cattle along to get into town. So, I mean, the cattle slow them down. I think it's only going to wind up being like maybe 2 days at most for us, because we don't have the cattle weighing us down. The worst we got is the dwarf, and we just toss him on the back of the horse, man. He doesn't like the horse, but he doesn't have to. Because he's slow, he has to keep up with us, so he gets tossed in the back.
And in video games, it's even simpler because
fast travel for a lot of them, yeah.
All you have to do is just walk in an area, and your map automatically gets filled in. No, you don't even have to draw.
Although I do like the Might and Magic. The second one is the one I played, Gates to Another World, whereby unless someone had the cartographer skill, the map does not get updated.
Okay, I like that.
So you can see which way to go. Like there's a visual thing, and you can write it on down. But without that all being written down, you are not going to record it on your map.
Yeah. Is there what skill would be D&D cartography? Or would it be like dungeoneering for underground and versus like
dungeoneering for in 3rd edition sort of thing? It would be a dungeoneering or knowledge dungeon or architecture. Right. For the underground stuff, whereas it'd just be like a profession skill for the overland thing.
Profession cartographer, I guess. Yeah.
Which is a very valuable one, because that way you don't have to say, oh no, I'm like a mercenary for hire. It's like, no, I'm a cartographer, or I'm an architect, sort of thing. And that's why I'm going in these dungeons. I'm learning what the ancients did with their architecture.
I like the thought too that as a DM you could say, okay, I'm going to require it like. The players can draw a map, and it's like, oh yeah, we drew this map. Here, you want to look at it, DM? And then you grabs it. Give me that. Rip. You don't have a skill for this.
You go back to your lines and your circles until someone picks up some ranks in cartographer. Come on.
Or like, maybe rip it in half, and you can have half of it.
Or maybe you just say, okay, listen. This is how it goes. Unless someone has ranks in cartographer or the knowledge, architecture, dungeoneering stuff, you guys, I'm not going to say don't make a map. You don't make a map properly. You can try making a map, in which case I'll roll the percentile dice for you. If it's higher than 50, you guys got it wrong. I'll say your map is wrong. You don't actually have to design the map. You don't actually have to draw it. I'll just tell you when you're wrong, and you wind up in the wrong direction. That's how it's going to go. Congratulations.
Okay, yeah, that's better than just ripping up the map. Has a certain dramatic flair to it.
I catch you drawing a map, I'm going to rip it up. That's my vow as a DM there. I catch you drawing, I'm going to rip it.
I'll come to your house. If you draw a secret map, I'll come to your house and find it.
I'll know when you guys know which way you're going all the time. Unless, of course, they're doing something like following the right-hand rule, in which case, give them extra leeway for, points and intelligence, right? If you're going through a dungeon, the right-hand rule is not a bad idea.
Yeah, the right-hand rule. Mark, or always turn right if you can. Yeah.
Always take the right-hand path, because eventually you'll come up with an entire outline of the thing. You might not get to the heart of it, but at least you'll get like all the, take the circumference of the darn dungeon.
Yeah. But
especially in a linear dungeon, actually, that's where it works out the best, because that way you're guaranteed to go through the whole dungeon.
But also, if you look at sort of medieval maps and stuff, they look like, with video games like World of Warcraft or Don't Starve for that matter, or maybe even Minecraft or something, you get a very exact one-to-one, like, this is the territory, this is the map.
Whereas, I've seen some older maps, their stuff is like, it goes like this, and then it goes off to the east, so they'll draw it like as a squiggly line going south and then east, where it makes a 90-degree corner. And it's like, you weren't even trying.
Yeah.
I can tell. I am a half millennia away from you, and I can tell you weren't trying, buddy.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
And then there were some weird things going on with like how the map deforms when you're trying to get the global stuff, so it winds up where like Australia winds up being really warped and out of like, well, which way does it go from here? I don't know. I guess I better draw it going heavily up to the north because nobody's told me. In which case, that's just like a lack of information and guesswork. I wouldn't mind some nice powdered, like you can get like a cotton ball with some like ink and you powder that down. It's like lands unknown.
Yeah, and
here there be nobody mapping things. Forget your dragons. That's the real danger.
our like the big D&D settings, I guess, like Faerun and Eberron and Greyhawk, they have very detailed world maps that look like they could be modern Earth maps, right? So this is what it actually looks like. I imagine that depending on if they have magic, I guess some people.
You got a wizard who can fly, provided you get the proper stuff and you don't have to worry about like running out of atmosphere going up high enough. I'm pretty certain they can get a really accurate result of stuff.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so I guess it makes sense for those worlds.
Plus, I mean, they do have a direct contact link to the people who made the planet. In which case, it's like, you are the forge smith of the world. Blueprints? We don't need exact. Don't worry about the exact stuff. Just just some general outlines. Where's the water? Where's the land? Where's the mountains? There we go. That's why you're the like the big bad guy. That's why we all worship you. And then the dwarf, leader of like the forge god, gives off the maps to his trusted allies, and it circulates eventually everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Or at least like it's a good in-game reasoning. It's like, why worship the forge god? Well, he made the earth. You like the earth? There's some nice stuff there. Yeah, he's the one who made it. Praise him, or her, whatever. I'm not one to decide which deity the gods are.
Now, one other thing I'm wondering is it like, could you have surveying tools? Like, would that be a cool thing to find?
Oh, yes. I suggest everybody who gets a chance look up the ancient Roman surveying tools. They made some of the straightest roads for like at least a millennia, into the future, and those roads are still being used today in many parts of Europe. And so some of the stuff on how they were able to get their roads so straight over such vast distances with very primitive tools and very accurate stuff. They had some nice, it was effectively like a pedometer sort of thing. Like you just like roll this cart, over, and the cart has got like a circumference of so far, and you count the beads when you get between the towns, and that's the distance between the two, and they were able to record that very, very accurately.
That's kind of cool.
Very nice stuff. Very dig it sort of things.
I could imagine, like, the dragon has taken residence in a dwarven stronghold, not to borrow too much from The Hobbit, but...
hey, it's fresh in the movie stuff. It's good.
The player characters are like, okay, we gotta vanquish this dragon. They vanquish the dragon, and one of the treasure rooms of the old dwarven empire is, like, a map room, with like an immaculate map that no one has seen the likes of.
Oh, like those little miniature maps sort of thing, but it's the entire freaking continent.
Yeah, and then the room is full of like all these like amazing jeweled and calibrated, super accurate surveying tools that the dwarves used to use.
And you think that's even more, what's even more awesome? You go into the next room beyond that, they got the astrolab, man.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, and the dwarves decided, you know what? We mapped the entire planet, but that's not good enough. We're going to map every celestial body, how they move. We got the whole thing set up, man.
Because if you didn't have that in your world, that would be a pretty awesome treasure to find.
That would be like, yeah, that's treasure beyond words. And plus, like, how do you move the astrolab without ruining it?
Imagine a player like just crafting
That's why they crafted that spell that shrinks something down to 1/12 its size, so that players can say, you know what, that giant, a statue they got there, I want it. I want it in our living room. Shrink it down to 1/12 its size so we can haul it through the door. Yeah.
Or imagine if, like, 100 years ago, a hardy group of adventurers did that, and they brought back, the astrolabe and the whole map room back to their capital city, like sort of how Napoleon brought back a whole bunch of stuff from Egypt to Paris.
Yes.
And they like reassemble it in Paris. And
hopefully the right way,
And then,
knock on wood with that one. Oh.
That's what I'm saying. Like your upcoming new heroes could be like, wait a second, the national. Like the huge national gallery with all the artifacts from around the world. The new empire has like conquered the world.
The new heart of the world.
They're looking at it. I think that's upside down.
Or get this, is a sort of thing is like we have the astrological stuff. We know everything that's going to happen, and then all of a sudden one day there's an eclipse when there shouldn't be.
Ooh.
Yeah, so you have to start adventuring, around. It's like, why was there an eclipse? Why was this not forecasted by, the giant machine that tells when everything's supposed to happen like this? Is it wrong? Is there something different? Is there
leap years? No.
Yeah, that's a thing that's happened with a lot of old calendars. How many days are there in the year? We'll say 300, and then we'll just shift the map, we'll shift the calendar, which is a time map, really. Shift the calendar whenever things get off by too much. Which is like, oh, come on, I know you guys are still Stone Age, but try a little harder. Come on, you can do this.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think it takes more than, 5-10 years to figure out there's 365 days in a year, give or take one day every once in a while?
I don't know. I always take it for granted, but I think somebody had to figure it out.
Well, you take use a central point to sit on during the sun rises, and then you mark out the days, and which was the far one, far the other. You count the many days in between. Between that cycle, you wind up with 365. You keep that tally up. You find out you're getting off by one day every 4 years. Verify that information at least twice, 3 times. Okay, so that winds up being about 12 years before you can figure out the leap year. And that's basically with Stone Age technology. You just need the right mindset, and that's always the biggest thing.
You wouldn't even think to...
The things I could do with my mind in the Stone Age, I could probably take us up to Bronze Age by the end of my life.
Well, I hope so.
I don't want to be stuck in the Stone Age. I got a wife and kid. I
just about to teleport you back there.
That's the thing, though. Is one, I like my family. 2, I love electricity and the heating and all that stuff.
Yeah.
3, I love the toilet. It is such a wonderful invention. I don't want to go to any point in history that doesn't have a washroom proper.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But that said, I know how to get proper time measurements and distance measurements. I can determine a straight road, thanks to the stuff I've seen on documentaries. And, if I really put my mind to it, I think I can get some form of electrical happening by the end of my life. But maybe if we're at the Iron Age, I could get that, yeah. With the proper tools, I could get lodestone working. I could get magnetized stuff. I could create a very horrible torture instrument, likely. I don't know how well I could get electricity, but I could get torture, so...
Yeah, you'd need to live in a world where people were willing to mine... Well, if you could convince people to start a mine, but then... How many years does it take to actually mine enough copper to, do...
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Maybe the Iron Age. Then there's copper plenty. You just got to buy the darn stuff.
Well, copper. You need copper for bronze, right? So.
Yeah, but I want Iron Age because that allows you to do some interesting things with, because with a proper electrical current going through a solenoid, you can magnetize metal, and with that magnetized metal, you can get a better solenoid stuff, and you can get out better and better magnets as you go. So by the end of my lifetime, I could get some pretty potent magnets. As well as generate some decent electricity. Knowing the mindset of the people back then, they would have used to this is like the temple of Zeus. So anybody that displeases us, okay, start it up down below and BAM! Thunderstruck!
Well, I remember reading, it might have been one of these, conspiracy like alien visitors from other times, but I remember reading that they had a theory that there were... Well, yeah, the original, the most ancient batteries they ever found, were Greek urns with sort of acidic...
Oh, yeah, they tested that stuff out. They are very poor batteries. They likely were just probably areas to store, lemon juice.
Yeah, but they were saying it was possible that, somebody had a theory.
Well, that's the thing. I believe they tested it on Mythbusters. They got a lot of them together.
Oh, yeah, it was Mythbusters.
Yeah, and it was dude, if you know that you can generate electricity, there are much better ways to utilize the technology here to generate electricity than these, urns.
Okay.
So, either the people were skilled, but, their flaw was, we have to do it this way. Or, no, it wasn't, an actual battery.
Well, what they might have been was they might have just been, guys who were storing, citrus juice or whatever.
This citrus juice gave me a shock. Why did that happen?
And they just started playing around with, what if I stick a wire in here? And then, what if we set it up in the temple and then... not necessarily a methodical, looking for power, but just oops, that was weird.
I won't lie. From what I've been told, the discovery of, microwave radiation was because some scientist was keeping chocolate in his back pocket and it melted extra quick. How did that happen? Well, I've got this thing emitting, microwave radiation. Maybe the microwave radiation melted my chocolate, and that's how we came up with the microwave. Pocket chocolate. And bad scientific practices. So I wouldn't be surprised if the electricity potential was discovered by people mucking around with lemon juice.
Yeah, and the other thing is it didn't necessarily lead to now here's a revolution in batteries. It's just that was weird, we did that, and then they sort of forget about it.
Here's something to put into your head then. Stuff you can do with your mind.
For
the Romans had steam technology. What they did was they'd effectively make an egg with 3 spouts coming out of it. In the top part, you put some water. In the bottom part, you put a coal. You twist it up together, and you hang it from a string, top and bottom. And then the water heats up from the coal and comes out as steam, and the vents go out in a certain direction, so it moves. It was like a kid's toy. Look at it spin! Whee! Okay. Kids are amused. Took about 2,000 years before someone said, you know what? That's doing work. Let's find a way to make that do work for us. And then, bam, locomotive. The Romans, if they had really applied themselves and said to that, you know that toy? I bet you if we put it up on a bigger system, we could have something moving.
And they had the roads.
And that's the thing, is they had tracks for that sort of stuff. So they had everything in place except the concept of putting that in as an engine of work. The Romans could have had the steam locomotive if they had thought about it right. Yeah. So once again, the right mindset is all the difference that changes the world. You get the right mind and you can do that stuff. Yeah. Which is what I think adventurers almost always are. They're the people who have that right mind, either because we're living in the future of technology compared to medieval, or just because, it's fun to play that person who sees the world the different way. Yeah. I am the Nikola Tesla of magic.
Or Leonardo da Vinci or something like that.
I think Nikola Tesla, because Nikola Tesla could do stuff that kills people a lot more. Like Da Vinci invented the concept of a tank and a helicopter sort of thing, but Nikola Tesla came up with electricity as a decent alternating current, something that Edison did the DC, and we're using DC current on our batteries, but you want, over a long distance, you got to go work with your alternating current, and that's Tesla. That's all Tesla's work. That, and there were some interesting things he was doing, apparently with some vibratory frequencies that almost shook apart a city block when he was working at it. The cops come busting in as he's like he couldn't shut down the machine, apparently. It wasn't shutting down properly, so they come in, they bust down the door. What is Tesla doing this time? And there he is, taking a hammer to the thing, is just causing the vibrations everywhere, and he's just pounding the crap out of that just to get it to stop. Sorry about that. Experiment got out of hand. Because that's Tesla. You gotta love the poor guy. And that's the thing. In my mind, Tesla was a PC. Edison, he was an NPC. He's the kind of guy that tries to steal the ideas. He's the guy the PCs are up against.
Yeah.
He's your antagonist. Right. That's a bit for maybe you guys out there to think about today. It's like, if this were a game, which people would be the PCs and which ones would be the NPCs?
Interesting.
Now, you don't want to think too much about that, because in a lot of games, an NPC's life is kind of worthless, and sometimes they get killed because, I'm bored! Wow! Meteor storm everywhere. But just think to yourself, which ones are the movers and shakers? Which ones, if this was a game, would be a player character? The CEOs? No, maybe it's the guy who's doing what he wants over there. Maybe the guy who's, maybe Darth Fiddler here in Victoria. Maybe he's the bard of the group. You just haven't assembled the party together yet. How does this work? Who in this area could be considered one of the PCs for the group as it was about to form, just before everything comes together and the adventure starts? Have some fun with that.
Good thought.
And then think about why. Why are they the PC? Why not the other people? Think about it. And then bam, once you realize you're the person thinking about this stuff, you've become the PC. It doesn't matter what class you figure out you are, you're the PC, because you're the thinker on this.
Everybody's their own PC in some way.
Well, they should be. It would be a very sad life to think yourself as I'm just another NPC. I go to work. I say times are tough repetitively and over again until the end of the day. Then I go home. And that's one of the first characters you meet in the original Final Fantasy.
You're still living your backstory, so that's what that is.
No, that was actually a reference to the one of the first characters you meet in Final Fantasy, the original one. It's like, times are tough. And that's all he would ever say. And he's just some poor guy that says, sigh, times are tough. And that was all his life was. People encounter him once or twice, and then they go on to bigger, better things, and he is forgotten for eternity. He does nothing to the story except say times are tough.
Yeah. Well, I guess I wouldn't mind a boring life so much if it wasn't.
Your life expectancy keeps on longer that way. I gotta say, adventurers die an awful lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess Okay. So maybe I'm not my own PC.
Well, I wouldn't say that. You're doing some electronomancy right now. You're putting out ideas online, man.
Okay, sure. Okay. Well, with that.
You're the mentomancer, man.
I think we've gone a little bit over time. I might be able to cut out some of this if we want to continue with another topic.
That's okay. I think we're doing okay. I think we've told them already how to get a hold of us.
Yes.
The Simulationist at
podcast@gmail.com.
There we go. Or if they want to do the Twitter thing, I may say Twitter earlier tonight, but that's only for the corporate brands trying to market it with it. I do appreciate it as a natural interactive conversational tool. Very interestingly limited to the 140 character stuff. So if they want the fine people listening to us right now want to get a hold of us, Space Boot, and that's a numeral 1.
Yes.
Not Space Bootoni.
That's me. Yeah.
Over at the Twitter
Find
handle.
me on Twitter. Yeah. If you find us on iTunes, there is always a place to put stars and reviews, which we always appreciate, as many as you feel we deserve.
Up to 5, because I don't think they allow you to get 6 out of 5.
Indeed.
Darn constraints. You can definitely tell it's an online thing and not a personal, format.
Yeah.
Limitations everywhere.
Yeah, they need a tabletop iTunes.
Wouldn't that just be like a record store?
Yeah. Well, a record store that sold podcasts.
Yeah, okay, I can dig that,
We just got the latest Simulationist in this week. Everybody come down on Wednesday and pick
It's
it up.
a 5-cent download sort of thing. You get it in here. We're going to be playing it out live sort of thing. You get a chance to listen. Everyone sit down and talk about what you like, where the ideas came from, and where did they really drop the ball. What did they do wrong in this one? What did they do right? Talk about it.
Yep. Well, thanks. Cool. Thanks. I should say thanks. I should finish the thought instead of just abbreviating it. Thank you for listening, all the people out there. Thank you for once again.
Listening in and
getting to all the way to
letting
the
us
podcast.
tap into your mind. Put some ideas in there.
And
if we didn't make you fall asleep, at least I hope we gave you some interesting dreams tonight.
We'll be back again in your ears.
7 days. You have 7 days.
I've been Josh Turlock.
I've been Ryan Kirkby.
Send money.